We now look at graphing multiple sets of data on the same plot. There are a couple of ways to organize this data. If all the data share the same values for the independent variable, we could organize the data like this: a single variable for the independent, a single column for the independent variable, and then the first data position, second data position, third data position. We'll call this a common independent variable format. However, if each data set has a different set of independent variables, we need to organize the data like this: first time, then the first time positions, the second time positions, the third times, and the third time positions. We'll call this a separate independent variable format. We'll begin with a common independent variable format. We import this data as we have before, removing the header lines. We now need to create new lists of the data in order to create the list plots. Our first data is the common data, all the rows, and we'll use a list in the second parameter of this separation of this addressing of the matrix array. We want the first and the second column. Our second data set is all the rows in the first and the third columns. The third data set is all the rows in the first and the fourth columns. Now that we've separated this out, we can create a combined plot. We use the list plot command and just provide a list of all three of our data plots in the first parameter and the formatting as before. This time we set the plot style so that we can color each of one of our plots individually. And we'll use the plot markers to access these special formats for the plot markers. We hit / right square bracket and then filled circle, filled diamond, or filled squared. Finally, we add a point legend and place it on the graph as well. We're going to use a point legend and place it in the upper left-hand corner. For a separate independent variable type of plot, we'll require one more step in order to plot this data. Again, we check to make sure that we have the data and we import it. One of the things to notice is that not all the columns have the same number of rows in them. Some of the data sets are longer than some of the others. So when we go to separate out this data, what we're going to do is use the delete cases command to separate our data. We'll use the first and second rows for our first data set, but this time we're going to tell Mathematica to delete any blank entries. We do the same thing with the second set of data. Separate the data using the third and fourth columns, and then the third set of data, we're using the fifth and the sixth columns. We now create our combined plot just as we did before, plotting the three data sets using the same set of formatting and the plot legend.